The fluorescent lights buzzed softly in the children's cancer ward of Mercy General Hospital, casting a pale glow over the vinyl floors. It was 2 a.m. and the air felt heavy, laced with the sharp scent of antiseptic and the faint hum of medical machines. Anna Harper, a 33-year-old night shift nurse, moved quietly down the hallway, her sneakers squeaking faintly with each step. Her brown hair was tied back in a neat ponytail, and her hazel eyes scanned the patient charts clipped to her clipboard. Around her neck, a small silver ring hung on a chain, a keepsake from her sister, Emily, who'd lost her battle with leukemia when Anna was just a kid. Anna paused outside room 304, her fingers brushing the chart of Liam Carter, a 9-year-old boy with terminal cancer. She'd seen his name 100 times, but tonight, something made her linger. Maybe it was the way the ward felt emptier than usual, or the way the moonlight slipped through the window, painting the hallway in soft grays. She pushed the door open gently, peering inside. Liam was awake, sitting up in his bed, his thin frame barely making a dent under the blankets. His bald head caught the dim light, and his big dark eyes were fixed on the window, where the city skyline twinkled faintly. In his hands he clutched an old comic book, its pages worn and curled. He didn't turn as Anna stepped inside, but his voice, small and raspy, broke the silence. "Anna," he said, using the nickname he'd given her. "Do you think there are stars out there tonight?" Anna smiled, setting her clipboard on the counter. "Let's check." She walked to the window, pulling the curtain back a little. The sky was mostly clouds, but a few faint stars peeked through. "Yep, a couple of brave ones. Probably waiting for you to name them." Liam's lips twitched, almost a smile. He was quiet like that, never said much, but when he did, it stuck with you. Anna had been watching him for months, ever since he'd been transferred to Mercy General. No family ever came. No cards, no balloons, no one to sit by his bed. Just Liam, his comic book, and the stories he'd tell himself about spaceships and galaxies far away. She glanced at the sketchpad on his bedside table, where a half-finished drawing of a rocket ship lay under a pile of crayons. "Still working on that spaceship?" she asked, leaning against the bed rail. Liam nodded, his fingers tracing the comic book's cover. "Gonna fly it to Mars someday. Maybe Jupiter if I'm fast enough." Anna's chest tightened. She knew Liam's chart by heart, stage 4. No more treatments left. But she kept her voice light. "Jupiter's a good one. Big, gassy, lots of moons to explore. You'll need a good co-pilot, though." "You'd come?" he asked, looking up at her for the first time. His eyes were wide, searching. "Only if you promise not to crash," she teased, ruffling the blanket over his knees. "Get some rest, Captain Liam. Big day tomorrow." He nodded, settling back against the pillows, but his gaze drifted back to the window. Anna picked up her clipboard and slipped out, the door clicking shut behind her. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall, closing her eyes for a moment. Liam reminded her of Emily, not in looks, but in the way he held on to dreams, even when the world felt too heavy. Emily had been like that, always talking about constellations and rocket ships, right up until the end. Anna's hand went to the silver ring around her neck, her thumb rubbing its smooth edge. She'd been 12 when Emily died, just a kid herself, watching her big sister fade in a hospital bed not so different from Liam's. That loss had carved a quiet space in Anna, one she filled with work, with long nights at the hospital with patients who needed her. But Liam was different. He got under her skin, made her want to do more than check vitals and change IVs. She pushed off the wall, heading to the nurse's station. The ward was still, except for the occasional beep of a monitor or the soft murmur of a TV in a patient's room. At the station, Jake, a younger nurse with a mop of curly hair and a knack for bad jokes, was sipping coffee from a styrofoam cup. "Quiet night, huh?" he said, grinning. "Bet you're ready to run a marathon after this shift." Anna rolled her eyes, dropping her clipboard on the counter. "Only if it's a marathon to my couch. You see Clara yet?" Jake groaned. "Yup. She's on the warpath about keeping the break room clean. Swear she's got a sixth sense for crumbs." Clara, the head nurse, was a force of nature, 50 years old, sharp as a tack, and a stickler for rules. Anna respected her, but Clara's by-the-book attitude sometimes made the ward feel colder than it already was. Last week, she'd shut down a parent's attempt to bring cupcakes for their kid's birthday, citing hospital policy. "No parties in patient rooms," she'd said, her voice like steel. "We're here to heal, not celebrate." Anna didn't argue, but it had bothered her. Kids like Liam deserved more than sterile walls and medical charts. They deserved a little light, a little joy. Even if it was just for a moment. She grabbed a pen, flipping through Liam's chart to update his vitals. Her eyes caught on a small note in the corner, DOB, March 10th. His 10th birthday was in 3 days. She paused, her pen hovering over the page. 3 days and no one had mentioned it. No family, no plans, nothing. Hey, Jake, she said, keeping her voice casual. You ever notice Liam's birthday coming up? Jake shrugged, leaning back in his chair. Kid in 304? Nah, didn't know. Poor guy's got enough on his plate, right? Yeah, Anna murmured, her gaze drifting back to the chart. He sure does. She closed the chart, but the date stuck in her mind like a pebble in her shoe. Liam, with his comic book and his rocket ship dreams, was turning 10. And something told her this birthday might be his last. Anna's apartment was a small, cluttered haven on the edge of the city, where the hum of traffic never quite faded. It was 7 a.m., and she'd just gotten off her shift, her body aching from hours on her feet. She kicked off her sneakers, tossed her keys on the counter, and sank onto the couch, the silver ring around her neck glinting in the morning light. The place was quiet, save for the soft jazz playing from a battered old radio, a habit she'd picked up from her dad, who'd sworn Coltrane could fix any bad day. She wasn't so sure about that anymore. Her eyes drifted to a framed photo on the bookshelf, her and Emily, grinning at a county fair, cotton candy smeared on their faces. Emily was 17 then, her blonde hair tied back with a red scrunchie. Her arms slung around 12-year-old Anna. That was before the diagnosis, before the hospital beds and the endless beeping monitors. Anna reached for the frame, her fingers tracing Emily's smile. Her sister had been her hero, the one who'd taught her how to ride a bike, who'd stayed up late telling stories about astronauts and far-off planets. Even when the leukemia took hold, Emily never stopped dreaming. We'll go to the stars one day, Anna, she'd whisper, her voice weak but sure. The memory that hit hardest was Emily's last birthday. She'd been in the hospital, too sick to eat, but she'd begged the nurses for a cupcake for Anna's 12th birthday, just a week away. Somehow, Emily had convinced a nurse to sneak one in. A lopsided vanilla cupcake with a single candle. She'd made Anna blow it out, even though it was Emily's hand shaking as she held it. Make a wish for something big, Emily had said. Anna wished for her sister to get better. A week later, Emily was gone. Anna set the photo down, her throat tight. That cupcake had been more than sugar and frosting. It was love, stubborn and fierce, in a place where hope felt impossible. Now, years later, Liam's birthday loomed in her mind like a flickering light. March 10th. 2 days away. She couldn't shake the image of him in room 304, clutching his comic book, no one to celebrate him. He deserved a cupcake, a candle, something to make him feel seen. She pulled out her journal, a worn leather notebook where she scribbled thoughts after tough shifts. Her pen moved fast. Words spilling out. Liam's turning 10. No family, no party, nothing. I keep thinking about Emily, how she fought to give me that one moment. Maybe I can give him one too. She paused, then wrote. But Clara will lose it if she finds out. Is it worth the risk? The hospital's rules were strict, and Clara, the head nurse, was stricter. Anna had seen her shut down anything that smelled like unprofessional. Last month, a dad had tried to bring a piñata for his daughter's birthday, and Clara had sent it straight to the trash. Muttering about infection risks and liability. Anna hadn't said a word then, but it had gnawed her. Kids like Liam didn't have time for rules, they needed moments, not policies. She closed the journal and headed to the hospital for her next shift, the idea of Liam's birthday simmering in her chest. The ward was busier tonight, with parents lingering in hallways and a few kids giggling over a board game in the common room. Anna made her rounds, checking IVs and updating charts, but her mind kept drifting to room 304. When she got there, Liam was awake, sketching in his pad under the glow of a clip-on light. His crayons were scattered across the blanket, and his rocket ship drawing was taking shape, a sleek ship with flames bursting from its engines. Anna leaned in, resting her elbows on the bed rail. That's one fast ship, Captain. Got a name for it yet? Liam looked up, his face brightening. The Star Chaser. It's gonna break all the speed records. Star Chaser, huh? I like it. She picked up a blue crayon, twirling it in her fingers. You know, I used to draw spaceships with my sister. She was crazy about stars just like you. Liam tilted his head. Where's she now? Anna hesitated, her fingers tightening around the crayon. She's up there, I think, watching from the stars. She forced a smile, nodding at his sketch. Bet she'd love your ship. Liam nodded, like he understood more than he let on. He flipped to a blank page and started a new drawing, his small hands moving carefully. Anna, you ever been to a birthday party? The question caught her off guard. Sure, lots. Cake, balloons, the whole deal. Why? He shrugged, not meeting her eyes. Just wondering. Never had one. Sounds nice. Her heart sank. She'd suspected as much from his chart, but hearing it out loud was different. She wanted to promise him a party right then, but Clara's voice echoed in her head. No parties in patient rooms. Instead, she said, they're pretty great. Maybe we'll figure something out for yours. Huh. Liam's eyes flicked up, hopeful, but he didn't push. He just went back to his drawing, humming softly. Anna stayed a little longer, helping him color in the flames on his rocket ship, her mind racing. She couldn't let his 10th birthday pass like it was nothing. At the nurse's station, Jake was sorting meds, his usual grin in place. You look like you're plotting a bank heist, he said, tossing her a pen. What's up? Anna glanced around, making sure Clara wasn't nearby. Liam's birthday's in 2 days. Kids never had a party. I'm thinking, maybe a cupcake, something small. Jake raised an eyebrow. You're brave. Clara'd have your head on a platter. Remember the piñata incident? Yeah, I know. Anna sighed, leaning against the counter. But he's got no one, Jake. No family, no friends. Just us. Jake softened, nodding. Fair point. If you pull it off, I'm in. Just don't expect me to take the fall when Clara goes full dragon mode. Anna laughed, but her stomach twisted. She'd seen Clara chew out nurses for less. So, the thought of Liam's hopeful eyes, his quiet, sounds nice, was louder than any rulebook. The next night, she brought a library book to Liam's room, a worn copy of The Stars We See, filled with pictures of galaxies and constellations. She sat by his bed, reading about the Milky Way while he listened, his comic book forgotten. When she got to a page about Jupiter, Liam interrupted. That's where I'm going first. Jupiter. It's got, like, a bazillion moons. A bazillion, huh? Anna grinned, closing the book. You'll need a good map. I'll see if I can find one. As she tucked him in, Liam grabbed her hand, his fingers cold but firm. Thanks, Anna. For the book? And you know being here. She squeezed his hand, her voice soft. Anytime, Captain. Back in the hallway, Anna pulled out Liam's chart, her eyes locking on his birth date again. March 10th, tomorrow. She flipped through the pages, her heart pounding. No notes about a celebration. No family contacts, nothing. Just a kid who'd never blown out a candle who might not get another chance. She slipped the chart back into its slot, her jaw set. Rules or no rules. Liam was getting a birthday. She just had to figure out how to make it happen without Clara shutting her down or worse. The hospital was a maze of routines, but tonight, Anna felt like she was walking a tightrope. It was March 9th, the eve of Liam's 10th birthday. And the ward hummed with its usual rhythm, monitors beeping, carts rolling, nurses murmuring in the halls. Anna's shift had just started and she was already juggling a dozen tasks, updating charts, checking 4 lines, calming a scared kid in room 312. But Liam's birthday was a drumbeat in her head, steady and insistent, drowning out the rest. She'd spent her morning off planning. Her kitchen table covered in scraps of paper. A cupcake, a candle, a few balloons, nothing big, just enough to make Liam smile. She'd even sketched out a plan to sneak him to the empty conference room on the 3rd floor, where no one went after midnight. The problem was Clara. Anna could picture the head nurse's steely glare, her voice cutting like a blade. This is a hospital, not a party venue. The thought made Anna's stomach churn, but every time she wavered, she saw Liam's face. His quiet wonder when she'd read him that book about stars. She was restocking supplies in the nurse's station when Jake strolled in, a bag of chips in hand. You're jumpy tonight, he said, tossing a chip in his mouth. What's got you looking like you're about to rob a bank? Anna shot him a look, keeping her voice low. Not a bank. Just thinking about Liam's birthday tomorrow. I'm doing it, Jake. A cupcake, maybe a balloon. Something. Jake's eyebrows shot up. You're serious? After Clara's piñata meltdown? You got a death wish or what? Maybe, Anna said, half smiling. But he's turning 10 and he's never had a party. I can't just do nothing. Jake leaned back, crunching another chip. You're nuts, but I respect it. Just don't get caught, all right? I'm not good at eulogies. Anna rolled her eyes, but his teasing eased her nerves. She grabbed a tray of syringes and headed for her rounds, her mind still on Liam. She was halfway down the hall when she heard voices from room 304. Jake's easy laugh and Liam's softer tone. She slowed, peering through the cracked door. Liam was propped up in bed, his comic book open on his lap. Jake sat in the chair beside him, holding a juice box. So, Captain Liam, Jake said, you telling me you'd pick Jupiter over Mars? Mars has actual dirt you can walk on. Liam shook his head, his voice barely above a whisper. Jupiter's cooler. It's huge and it's got storms bigger than Earth. Plus, I'd float around its moons. He paused, his fingers picking at the blanket. I was just telling Anna. I never had a birthday party. Bet they have awesome ones on Jupiter. Anna froze, her tray clattering softly in her hands. She pressed herself against the wall, her heart pounding. Liam's words were so casual, so small, but they hit her like a tidal wave. Never had a birthday party? She thought of Emily. Of that cupcake in the hospital. The way it had lit up her sister's face even in the darkest days. Liam deserved that. A moment of light, no matter how brief. Jake's voice broke through her thoughts. No parties, huh? Man, we gotta fix that someday. Cake, balloons, the works. Liam's laugh was faint, almost lost in the hum of the room. Yeah. Maybe? If I get better. The words hung in the air. Heavy and raw. Anna's throat tightened and she forced herself to move, slipping past the door before Jake or Liam saw her. She ducked into a supply closet. Leaning against a shelf of gauze and bandages, her breath shaky. If I get better. Liam knew in his quiet way that he wasn't getting better. And still, he dreamed of parties on Jupiter. Of candles he'd never blown out. She wiped her eyes, her resolve hardening like steel. Rules be damned, she was giving Liam a birthday. Not someday, not if he got better. Tomorrow. Anna finished her rounds in a blur, her mind mapping out every detail. She'd need to move fast, keep it secret, and avoid Clara's eagle eyes. By the time her break rolled around, she was wired. Her hands jittery as she poured coffee in the break room. Jake was there, scrolling on his phone, and she caught his eye. Jake, she said, keeping her voice low. I need a favor. Tomorrow night. Can you cover for me for, 15 minutes? Around midnight. He squinted, suspicious. This about the cupcake caper? She nodded, her jaw tight. I'm doing it in the conference room. Just me and Liam. I'll be quick. Jake sighed, but his grin crept back. You're gonna get us both fired, you know that? Fine. I'll keep Clara busy. But you owe me a burger. Deal, Anna said. Relief washing over her. She glanced at the clock, 3 a.m. Her shift was almost over and she had one more stop to make. She headed to the 24-hour bakery a few blocks from the hospital. The city streets quiet except for the occasional cab. The bakery was a cozy hole in the wall, its windows glowing with warm light. Inside, an older woman with gray curls was wiping down the counter. Anna scanned the display case, her eyes landing on a single chocolate cupcake. Its frosting swirled with sprinkles. That one, she said, pointing. And, do you have any candles? The woman smiled. Reaching under the counter. Got just the thing. She pulled out a small pack of candles and tossed one in for free. Special occasion? Anna hesitated, then nodded. Yeah. A kid's birthday. He's really special. The woman's eyes softened. Well, you tell him to make a big wish, okay? Anna paid and slipped the cupcake into a paper bag. Along with a small pack of balloons she'd grabbed from a dollar store earlier. On her way home, she stopped at a craft store, picking up a sheet of cardstock and a pack of markers. Back in her apartment, she sat cross-legged on the floor, cutting the cardstock into a card. She drew a rocket ship, nothing fancy, but close enough to Liam's sketches, and wrote inside. To Captain Liam, happy 10th birthday. Keep chasing the stars. Anna. She stared at the card, her chest tight. It wasn't much. A cupcake, a card, a few balloons. But for a kid who'd never had a party, it might be everything. She tucked the supplies into her bag, her mind racing with logistics. The conference room was her best bet, tucked away. Rarely used at night. She'd have to move Liam quietly, make sure no one saw. Clara's shift ended at 11 p.m., but she sometimes lingered, checking charts like a hawk. Anna lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart pounding. She was breaking every rule in the book, risking a write-up, maybe even her job. But Liam's voice echoed in her head. Bet they have awesome parties on Jupiter. She closed her eyes, picturing his face when he saw the cupcake, the candle's tiny flame. For that moment, it would be worth it. Tomorrow was March 10th, Liam's birthday, and Anna was ready to make it a night he'd never forget. March 10th arrived with a quiet intensity, the hospital ward bathed in the same sterile glow Anna had come to know too well. Her shift started at 7 p.m., and every step she took felt charged. Like she was carrying a secret too big for her scrubs. Tucked in her locker was a paper bag with the chocolate cupcake, a single candle, 3 small balloons, and the handmade cards she'd drawn for Liam. Her heart raced every time she passed the nurse's station, half expecting Clara to pop out and demand an inspection. But Clara had left at 11 p.m. Her clipboard tucked under her arm, her usual stern reminders echoing in the halls. Anna's plan was simple but fragile: wait until midnight, when the ward was quietest, and sneak Liam to the third-floor conference room. Jake had promised to keep watch, distracting any late-night wanderers with his charm or, if needed, a fake emergency call about a spilled coffee. The conference room was perfect, tucked at the end of a hallway, its long table and stiff chairs untouched after hours. No cameras, no patients, just a blank space Anna could transform. Even if just for 15 minutes. She went through her rounds on autopilot, checking vitals, adjusting drips, flashing smiles at kids who were awake. But her eyes kept drifting to room 304. Liam was in there, probably sketching or staring out the window, unaware of the surprise waiting for him. Anna's fingers brushed the silver ring around her neck, a nervous habit. She thought of Emily. Of that shaky candlelit cupcake in a hospital room years ago. This was for Liam, but it was for Emily, too, a way to honor the sister who'd taught her that love could shine even in the darkest places. At 11:45 p.m., Anna slipped into the break room to grab her bag. Jake was there, sipping soda and flipping through a magazine. "Showtime?" he whispered, glancing up. Anna nodded, her throat dry. "You're on lookout, right?" "Got your back," he said, tossing her a mock salute. "If Clara shows up, I'll say the vending machine's possessed. Go make that kid's night." She forced a smile, clutching the bag as she headed to the locker room. Her hands shook as she pulled out the supplies, tucking the cupcake and candle into a plastic container. The balloons and cards stuffed into her scrub pockets. The balloons were a risk, they could draw attention. But Liam deserved a little color, a little magic. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, and made her way to room 304. Liam was awake, his sketchpad open, a half-finished rocket ship glowing under his clip-on light. He looked up as Anna entered, his thin face brightening. "Anna, you got that star map yet?" "Not yet, Captain," she said, keeping her voice light. "But I need you to come with me for a quick checkup. Think you're up for a little walk?" Liam tilted his head. Curious but trusting. "Okay. Where we going?" "Just down the hall." "Doctor's orders," she lied, helping him into a wheelchair. His legs were too weak for long walks, and she didn't want to tire him out. She draped a blanket over his lap, hiding the bag she'd slipped beside him, and pushed him out of the room, her heart pounding. The hallway was mercifully empty, the only sound the soft squeak of the wheelchair's wheels. Jake was at the nurse's station, pretending to sort charts, and he gave her a subtle nod as she passed. Anna's eyes darted to every corner, every doorway, expecting Clara or another nurse to appear. But the ward was still, the other patients asleep, the night holding its breath. They reached the elevator, and Anna pressed the button for the third floor, her fingers trembling. Liam looked up at her, his voice small. "This a special checkup or something?" "You'll see," Anna said, winking. "Just trust your co-pilot." The conference room was as bare as she'd expected. Gray walls, a long table, and a window overlooking the city lights. Anna wheeled Liam inside, locking the door behind them. She flicked off the overhead lights, plunging the room into darkness except for the glow from the window. "Hold tight," she whispered, pulling the supplies from the bag. She worked fast, taping the 3 balloons to the table, their red and blue shapes bobbing in the dim light. She set the cupcake on a paper plate, pressing the candle into its center, and lit a match with shaky hands. The tiny flame flickered, casting a warm glow across Liam's face. His eyes widened, his mouth falling open. "Anna," he breathed, his voice barely audible. "Is this Anna grinned, pulling the card from her pocket and setting it beside the cupcake. Happy 10th birthday, Captain Liam. She started singing, her voice soft but steady. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Liam's hands gripped the wheelchair's arms, his eyes locked on the candle. When she finished, he leaned forward, his breath uneven. I get to blow it out? That's the rule, Anna said, her own eye stinging. Make a wish, but don't tell me. It's gotta stay secret. Liam closed his eyes, his small chest rising as he took a deep breath. He blew, the candle's flame winking out, a thin curl of smoke rising in the air. He opened his eyes, a smile breaking across his face, wide and real. The kind Anna hadn't seen in months. Did you know it was my birthday? He asked, his voice trembling with wonder. Saw it in your chart, Anna said, sitting on the table beside him. Couldn't let you turn 10 without a party, could I? Liam reached for the card, his fingers tracing the rocket ship she'd drawn. This is the best ship ever, he said, his voice thick. Better than mine. No way, Anna teased, cutting the cupcake in half with a plastic knife. Yours is headed for Jupiter. This one's just for show. She handed him half the cupcake, the frosting smudging his fingers. They ate in silence for a moment, the city lights twinkling outside, the balloon swaying gently. Liam licked frosting off his thumb, his eyes bright. Anna. If I could go anywhere, I'd take you with me. To Jupiter, or the stars. You'd like it up there. Anna's heart ached, but she kept her smile. I'd be there in a heartbeat, Captain. But you'd have to teach me how to fly. He laughed, a small raspy sound that filled the room. Then he grew quiet, his gaze drifting to the window. If I don't make it to Jupiter, this is enough. This night. Thanks, Anna. She swallowed hard, reaching for his hand. You're welcome, Liam. But don't give up on Jupiter yet, okay? He nodded, squeezing her hand, his fingers cold but strong. They sat there, the cupcake crumbs scattered on the plate, the candle's wax hardening in the dark. Liam told her about his favorite comic book hero, a space explorer who never backed down. And Anna listened, memorizing every word, every smile. A soft knock broke the moment, Jake, signaling time was up. Anna's stomach dropped. She'd stretched there 15 minutes to 20. We gotta get you back, she said, standing. She quickly untied the balloons, tucking them into the bag, and wiped the table clean, leaving no trace. Liam clutched the card, his half of the cupcake wrapped in a napkin. As she wheeled him back to room 304, the hospital felt different, warmer, softer, like the night had shifted. Jake was waiting at the nurse's station, his thumbs up, a silent all clear. Anna tucked Liam into bed, the card on his bedside table, the napkin-wrapped cupcake hidden under his pillow. Best birthday ever, he whispered, his eyes heavy with sleep. Glad you think so, Anna said, smoothing his blanket. Sleep tight, Captain. She stepped into the hallway, closing the door softly. Her hands were still shaking, but her chest felt full, like she'd carried a piece of starlight back with her. She didn't know it then, but that night, that tiny secret party would change everything. The hospital never slept, but the morning after Liam's birthday felt different to Anna. Like the air held a fragile kind of hope. She'd gone home at dawn. The memory of Liam's smile, wide and unguarded as he blew out his candle, carrying her through the city streets. She tucked the balloons and empty cupcake wrapper in her bag. A secret she'd guard like treasure. For the first time in months, she felt like she'd done something that mattered, something Emily would have been proud of. But hope is a tricky thing in a place like Mercy General, where every beep of a monitor could signal a fight you couldn't win. Anna's next shift started on March 12th. 2 days after Liam's birthday, and the ward was buzzing with its usual chaos, parents asking questions, kids crying for juice, nurses rushing between rooms. Anna was checking a chart when her pager went off, the sharp buzz cutting through her thoughts. Room 304. Code blue. Her heart stopped. Liam. She dropped the chart and ran, her sneakers pounding the vinyl floor. The hallway stretched endlessly, doors blurring past as her mind raced. Not Liam. Not now. She burst into room 304, where a team was already at work, Dr. Patel barking orders, a nurse prepping a crash cart, monitors screaming with jagged lines. Liam lay in the center of it all, his small body still, his face pale under the oxygen mask. His hands clutched the napkin from his birthday cupcake, the edges crumpled like he'd been holding it for dear life. Anna, assist! Dr. Patel snapped, and she jumped in, her training taking over. She checked the 4 line, her hands steady even as her chest tightened. Liam's breathing was shallow, his pulse weak. She leaned close, her voice low but urgent. Hang in there, Captain. You're tougher than this. You're going to Jupiter, remember? His eyelids fluttered, but he didn't respond. The team worked fast, defibrillator pads, epinephrine shots. Chest compressions that looked too rough for his fragile frame. Anna stayed by his side, adjusting the oxygen, calling out vitals, but every second felt like a losing battle. She kept talking. Her words a lifeline. Come on, Liam. You've got a rocket ship to fly. Don't give up on me. Dr. Patel shook his head, his voice grim. We're losing him. Time of death, eh? No. Anna's voice cracked. Louder than she meant. The room went quiet, all eyes on her. She gripped Liam's hand, his fingers cold and limp. Just one more try. Please. Dr. Patel hesitated, then nodded. They tried again, another round of shocks, another dose of meds. Anna held Liam's hand, her thumb brushing his knuckles, willing him to fight. She thought of his birthday, his laugh, the way he'd said, "This is enough." She couldn't let that be the end. But the monitors didn't lie. The lines flattened, the beep slowing to a single endless tone. Dr. Patel stepped back, his shoulders slumping. Time of death. 7:42 a.m. Anna stood frozen, Liam's hand still in hers. The team moved around her, unplugging machines, covering his body with a sheet. She didn't let go until Jake appeared at her side, his hand gentle on her shoulder. Anna, he said softly. You gotta let him go. She nodded, her throat too tight to speak. She set Liam's hand down, the napkin still curled in his fingers, and stepped back. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. She walked out, her legs numb, and made it to the stairwell before her knees gave out. She sank onto the steps, her face in her hands, and let the tears come, hot, silent, unstoppable. Jake found her there 10 minutes later, sitting beside her without a word. He didn't try to cheer her up or tell her it'd be okay. He just stayed, his presence steady, until Anna could breathe again. I thought, she started, her voice hoarse. I thought that night meant something. That it did. I don't know, keep him here a little longer. It did mean something, Jake said, his voice quiet. You gave him a moment, Anna. That's more than most kids here get. She wiped her eyes, staring at the concrete steps. It wasn't enough. Jake didn't argue. He just sat with her until she was ready to stand. The rest of her shift was a blur. Anna went through the motions, checking patients, answering calls, forcing smiles for kids who didn't know what had happened. But every time she passed room 304, now empty, her chest ached. She avoided it until the end of her shift, when protocol required her to clear out Liam's things. Inside, the room was too quiet, the bed stripped, the sketchpad and comic book gone. But on the bedside table, tucked under a water cup, was the card she'd made for his birthday, the rocket ship with her handwriting, "Keep chasing the stars." Anna picked it up, her fingers trembling, and noticed something else. A folded piece of paper, hidden in Liam's book about stars. She opened it, her breath catching. In Liam's shaky handwriting, it read, Anna, thank you for my first and last birthday. You're my favorite star. You gave me more than medicine ever could. Below it, he'd drawn a tiny rocket ship, with 2 stick figures inside, one labeled Liam, the other Anna. Anna pressed the paper to her chest, tears blurring her vision. She sank into the chair by the bed, clutching the card and the note, letting the weight of it all crash over her. Liam was gone, but he'd left her this. A piece of his heart, a reminder that one night, one cupcake had mattered. She didn't hear the door open, but she felt a presence. Clara stood there, her arms crossed, her face unreadable. Anna braced herself, expecting a lecture about protocol or unprofessional behavior. But Clara didn't speak. She just looked at the card, then at Anna, and for the first time, her eyes softened. Finish up here, Clara said, her voice quieter than usual. Then go home, Anna. You need rest. Anna nodded, tucking the note and card into her pocket. She left room 304, the door clicking shut behind her, and walked past the nurse's station, where Jake was sorting charts. He didn't ask how she was, he didn't need to. She gave him a small nod, a silent thank you, and headed for the elevator. Outside, the morning sun was rising, painting the city in gold. Anna stood on the hospital steps, the note still in her pocket, Liam's words echoing in her mind. She'd given him a birthday, a moment of joy, but it hadn't saved him. Nothing could have. And yet, as she touched the silver ring around her neck, she felt something shift inside her, a quiet strength, a resolve to keep going, for Liam, for Emily, for every kid who needed a light in the dark. She didn't know it yet, but Liam's birthday wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something bigger, something that would ripple through the hospital and beyond. The days after Liam's death blurred into a haze for Anna. She moved through her shifts at Mercy General like a ghost. Her hands steady but her heart heavy. The hospital was the same, beeping monitors, rushing nurses, kids fighting battles too big for their small bodies, but room 304 stayed empty, a quiet reminder of the boy who dreamed of Jupiter. Anna kept Liam's note in her journal, tucked beside the birthday card with her rocket ship drawing. She didn't read it often, it hurt too much. But knowing it was there in his shaky handwriting, gave her something to hold on to. She expected the ward to move on, to swallow Liam's story like it did so many others. But something was different this time. A week after he passed, Anna overheard a parent in the common room whispering to another mom, "Did you hear about the nurse who threw a birthday party for that boy? Snuck him a cupcake, candles, everything." The other mom nodded, her eyes soft. "Wish my kid could have had that." Anna froze, her tray of medical supplies nearly slipping. She ducked behind a corner, her face burning. How did they know? She'd been so careful, only Jake had seen her, and he wasn't the type to spill. But then she remembered the balloons, the card, the way Liam's smile had lit up that dark conference room. Maybe he'd told another kid, or a nurse had overheard. Maybe it didn't matter. The story was out and it was spreading. At the nurse's station, Jake caught her eye, his grin sly. "You're famous. You know. Words out about your ninja birthday skills." Anna groaned, keeping her voice low. "If Clara hears, I'm toast." "You didn't say anything, did you?" "Not a word," he said, holding up his hands. "But kids talk, parents talk. You're like a hospital legend now." She shook her head, but a small part of her warmed at the thought. Liam's birthday had meant something. Not just to her but to others. Still she braced for trouble. Clara hadn't mentioned anything, but Anna knew her boss's sharp eyes missed nothing. Every time the head nurse passed, Anna's stomach twisted, waiting for a lecture or a write-up. The call came 2 weeks later. Anna was paged to the administrative office, a place she rarely visited. Her heart sank as she walked the long hallway, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. She'd gone over the line, broken every rule in Clara's book. She touched the silver ring around her neck. Thinking of Liam, of Emily. Whatever happened, she wouldn't apologize for that night. In the office, Clara sat behind a desk, her face as unreadable as ever. Across from her was Dr. Patel, the doctor who'd led Liam's code, and the hospital director, Ms. Reynolds, a woman Anna had only seen at staff meetings. Anna stood stiffly, her hands clasped behind her back. "Sit," Clara said. Her voice clipped. Anna obeyed, her pulse racing. Ms. Reynolds leaned forward, her tone calm but firm. "Anna, we've heard about what you did for Liam Carter. The birthday party in the conference room." Anna swallowed, ready to defend herself, but Ms. Reynolds raised a hand. "We also heard from parents. One of them, Mrs. Ellis, said her daughter hasn't stopped talking about it. She said it gave her hope, knowing someone cared that much." Anna blinked, caught off guard. I just wanted him to have something special." "He didn't have anyone." Clara's eyes narrowed, and Anna braced for the hammer. But instead, Clara sighed, her shoulders softening. "You broke protocol, Anna. You know that. But..." She paused, glancing at Dr. Patel. "We've been talking. This hospital is about saving lives, but it's also about giving these kids a reason to keep fighting. Liam's story showed us that." Dr. Patel nodded. "We're revising the policy. Going forward, we'll allow small birthday celebrations for patients, supervised by staff. Nothing extravagant, cupcakes, cards, maybe a balloon or two. We're calling it the Liam Carter program." Anna's breath caught. She stared at them, her mind reeling. The Liam Carter program. Ms. Reynolds smiled faintly. "It's a fitting name, don't you think? We've even had a parent donate a fund for supplies. And we'd like you to help oversee it, Anna, if you're willing." For the first time in weeks, Anna felt something like light break through the fog. She nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I'd be honored." As she left the office, her legs felt shaky, but her heart was full. She passed room 304, now occupied by a new patient, and stopped at the hallway bulletin board. There, pinned among schedules and memos, was a photo of Liam, holding his rocket ship sketch, his smile small but bright. Below it, a note read, "In memory of Liam Carter, who taught us to chase the stars." Anna touched the photo, her fingers lingering. "You did this, Captain," she whispered. "You changed everything." A year later, Anna was still at Mercy General, her scrubs a little more worn, her steps a little lighter. The Liam Carter program had taken root, transforming the ward in ways she hadn't imagined. Kids got cupcakes on their birthdays, handmade cards from volunteers, even tiny star-shaped balloons donated by a local shop. Parents smiled more, nurses lingered a little longer. And even Clara, still strict as ever, kept a stash of candles in her desk just in case. Anna had changed too. She still carried Liam's note in her journal. But she didn't shy away from the other nurses anymore. She joked with Jake over bad coffee, shared stories with new staff, and found herself humming jazz tunes during quiet shifts. The silver ring around her neck felt less like a weight and more like a reminder. Of Emily, of Liam, of the courage it took to love in a place where loss was always close. One evening, as spring painted the city in soft greens, Anna walked into room 317 with a familiar paper bag. Inside was a vanilla cupcake, a single candle, and a card she'd drawn herself. A rocket ship soaring past a crescent moon. The patient was Sophie, a 7-year-old girl with no family listed in her chart. Her dark curls framing a face full of quiet curiosity. "Hey, Sophie," Anna said, setting the bag on the bedside table. "Guess what? Today's a special day." Sophie's eyes widened, her voice shy. "It is." "Yup." Anna pulled out the cupcake, pressing the candle into its frosting. She lit it with a match, the flame dancing in the dim room. "Make a wish, kiddo. Make it a big one." Sophie stared at the candle, her small hands clasped tight. She closed her eyes, blew, and smiled as the flame flickered out. Anna handed her the card, watching her trace the rocket ship with her finger. "This is for me?" Sophie asked, her voice full of wonder. "All for you," Anna said, sitting beside her. "Every star needs a little light, right?" Sophie nodded, biting into the cupcake, frosting smudging her chin. Anna stayed, listening as Sophie talked about her favorite book. Her words tumbling out like she'd been waiting for someone to hear them. Outside, the city lights twinkled, and Anna felt Liam's presence, his notes words echoing in her heart. "You're my favorite star." As she left Sophie's room, Anna paused in the hallway, her hand brushing the ring around her neck. She thought of Liam, of Emily, of all the kids who'd come and gone. Love didn't need permission, she realized. It just needed courage to act, to care, to keep going even when it hurt. She walked back to the nurses' station, the ward alive with its familiar sounds. There'd be more birthdays, more candles, more kids who needed her. And Anna was ready, one cupcake at a time, to light up the dark.